Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back to a wonderful sunny Wednesday afternoon, and I'm wishing you a wonderful hump day. I hope that you've had a wonderful first part of the week and that you are also enjoying the rest of the week. And just a quick reminder for everybody that isn't aware of it yet. I am currently doing an online challenge that is called Job Hunt Germany Power Week. And we've already had 2 wonderful days when we talked about how to define the career, the ideal career profile. And yesterday we looked at the job search in Germany. And today we're actually taking a look at how to write a bespoke CV or a resume. So if that is still interesting to some of you, then feel free to click the link in my bio and just follow me there and sign up for this challenge, because you can still be part of it if you want to. And Phil O'Kelly is here. Hello, thanks for joining me. So this week I didn't prepare a poll, just simply because last week's poll was almost indifferent. So you guys were very close with the call. So you wanted to know my view on the future of work, but you also wanted to learn more about weird or strange questions with regards to the job interview. So what kind of weird questions can be asked during a job interview? And if you have any experience with regards to that, let me know and share it in the comments. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Well, basically, there are 3 different categories that we need to keep in mind with regards to the job interview questions that are weird or strange. So first of all, it's the tricky questions. The second category is brain teasers. And the third one are forbidden questions that might be asked. And I'm going through them step by step, and then you can ask questions if you want. I will give you a couple of examples and some example answers as well. And yeah, so maybe I would like to start with the experiences that I have had, because I mean, I've been in really strange job interviews. I have conducted job interviews in my HR career, but obviously having worked with several different employers, I had the chance to experience many different job interviews as a candidate myself, and there were strange questions and also some questions that made me feel very, very uncomfortable. And Leonora is here. Hello, thanks for joining me here. I'm talking about weird and strange job interview questions today. So during my very first job interview, I was asked, so in my CV, I wrote, like in the sections for my hobbies, I wrote down that I can play the flute, or that I'm playing the flute. And or rather in English you would say the recorder. So it's not this flute, but it's more like this wooden thingy. And I typically take it out around Christmas time every year. And but I have learned how to play the recorder professionally for several years. So that's one of my hobbies. And that's what I entered in the CV and in the resume. And one of the first questions that I got was basically, where was your recorder produced? So in which city in Germany was your recorder produced? And I said, so that was a really strange question, and I didn't know how to answer that. And then I just looked at the recruiters and I said, well, I don't know. And so the reason why recruiters are asking these questions is basically because they want to see how you are reacting in stressful situations. So they just want to see whether you are lying or whether you're saying the truth, and whether you can admit if you don't know the answer. And here I was just simply honest and I said, I don't know, I'm sorry. And then the recruiter, it turns out that the recruiter himself also knew how to play the recorder and had a recorder himself. And he knew that there's a very specific city in Germany that is called Hameln, where the recorder is actually being produced. So that's what this story was all about. But I thought that was really strange. But one more advice here at this point. So normally during a job interview, recruiters will start by asking questions that you feel comfortable with. And first of all, a little bit of small talk. How did you get here? And would you like a cup of coffee, or would you like some water to drink? And then the first set of questions that they might ask, and it's very, very typical, is that they are asking about hobbies, because the hobbies are the things that you feel most comfortable with, right? Comfortable talking about. And then you have actually a very positive entrance in this job interview, basically. So that's why it's also very important for you to remember and keep in mind not to lie with regards to your hobbies. Okay, because if the recruiters start with a question about your hobbies and it's a lie and you cannot talk about that in detail or with passion, then they will realize, well, okay, he or she has lied about the hobbies, so what else is going to come? So maybe the rest of the resume is also false. So that was one weird question that I got asked. Another weird and strange question that I got asked, and it was basically kind of like the only question that I was asked during the job interview, which is why I also already thought that it's really, really strange. And back then when I was asked that, I already had 3 different HR positions beforehand. So I already knew how a job interview was being conducted, and I conducted job interviews myself at this point. So I already knew how the agenda was for this meeting. So back in school, I was working voluntarily for something like a peer court. So whenever there were youngsters and teenagers who had committed a minor crime, they would have the opportunity to talk to a peer group court or to go to court right away and have a mark in their personal file, basically. So and that was basically about, I was a part of a group of judges, and then we were talking to this teenager who had committed a crime, and we really spoke about it. Why did you do that? How did you do that? How did you feel? And so on. And then we found like a kind of task or a kind of a solution for this issue, and how this person can really think about what he or she had done. So that was, sometimes they had to write an essay, and most of the times they had to apologize to whoever they committed the crime to. And in the very bad or in the worst case, we would also give some sanctions, such as 15 hours social work or something like that, community work, community service. And that was the question that the recruiters were asking me about. So they asked me, so you've been part of a peer group court. How was that like, and what did you do? And obviously there was something again. Vince is here. Hi, Vince. Thank you for joining. And so basically, here again, they wanted to know, am I telling the truth, or is just there a huge list of voluntary work and Lisa's telling us lies? And it was actually very interesting to talk about that, because obviously this project was quite new at the time, and I was happy to talk about that. And another weird question, maybe some of you remember or already know that I have worked within the automotive industry for quite some time, several years, and so typical questions that were asked then were something like, which car would you be or which car part would you like to be? And then a very interesting answer would be to say one of the brands models that this company is producing, obviously, and why. Yeah, so I was using some sort of an SUV because I wanted to show them, okay, I'm also reliable on a rocky road, for example. Yeah, that was my answer, and they just loved it, so I got the job. And here with that question, it's very interesting that you need to be creative. And at one point during the career coaching drop-in sessions here, I also talked about a very, very difficult job interview that I was in. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys here as well, because it's a tricky question that I was asked, or several tricky questions. And these tricky questions are there, or they have a specific aim. So they want to learn more about your motivation, about your personal values, your way of working, your professional goals, and what kind of value you can add to the company. But also they want to see how you are reacting in a stressful situation. So during one job interview, and it was probably one of my no, it was not the last job interview that I went to, but it was actually very, very nerve-wracking because I was grilled, as I would say. And the question was basically, on a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you? And that was a question that I was asked in the very first 5 minutes of the interview. And then I said, because obviously, typically people are very nervous when they are at job interviews, I said 8. And then this person, so the recruiter, who was actually a psychologist, asked, okay, so and what would we have to do to push you to a 10 or to a 12? And then I said, well, probably you would have to ask me technical questions about what this company is producing, rather than technical questions about my field of expertise, HR and people development. And this person said, okay, well, we will keep these questions then for the end. And that's when we are going to get your nervousness to a 10 or 12. So that's how this person reacted. And at this point, I was just, I was done. And then I thought, okay, Lisa, stay calm, don't cry. So, and then I did this interview, and I actually received a job offer afterwards, I think a day after that. But once I got out of the office, once I got out of the job interview, I started crying, and I probably cried for an hour because I was so devastated, and I was so overwhelmed how a person could grill me like that and ask me questions that just make me want to cry. I mean, these people, these recruiters, know that we all, whoever is an applicant, are very, very nervous. And then why would you push a person to the extent that they want to cry and leave the room? And I know from several of my former colleagues from university, when they were still in the phase of applying, that they were asked similar questions, and that they were really pushed to the edge. And that's when I think nowadays, it's like, why would a company do that? Because obviously, why would you want an applicant to feel so uncomfortable that they get the feeling that they never want to work there? Because that was the impression that I had after my job interview. I knew, okay, if this person is asking me questions in the job interview like that, I don't even want to get to know how this person is to work with. And that's when I decided, no, I'm not taking on this job. So yeah, but let's dive into a few more tricky questions. So a question could be something like, what color would you be in a box of crayons, and why? So you don't have to be a major artist to answer this question. It's just for you to be creative and also give an answer that makes sense. So something like, okay, yellow, because yellow is a very cheerful color, and I'm a very cheerful person, and I'm very open. or green because I'm very optimistic, something like that. Okay, so don't just give them a one-word answer, but also give them a little explanation. And with this explanation, you need to be creative. Or a question like, why should earthworms wear lederhosen? And somebody is here. Hi, Peace. Thank you very much for joining me here. I'm talking about tricky questions during the job interview today. So obviously, this question doesn't really make any sense. Why should earthworms wear lederhosen? Well, obviously you could say because because the earthworms would look very sexy in it. Or for example, if you are applying for a lederhosen manufacturer, you could say something like, because I am convinced that everybody should have a pair of lederhosen. Or you could answer it in a more logical way, something like, well, then the earthworm stays dry and nice, something like that. So here with these questions, it's not so much about having a logical answer, but it's more about finding an answer that makes some sense. Yeah. And something that is also very interesting, another question would be, which song describes your attitude towards work? And yeah, Peace says, hello, Lisa. So maybe, Peace, you can share with me which song describes your attitude towards work. And so there are several answers that you could give in this situation, and you need to think about not your taste in music. You can use that, but it's rather about the text, yeah, the song text, and basically what it's about. So something like "We Will Rock You," or "I Got the Power," or "Don't Stop Me Now," something like that. And again, with a little explanation, that would be the best answer. Something like, oops, I did it again, is not a good answer. Or from, maybe you've heard of a German song, that's a German folk song, very, very popular, Atemlos durch die Nacht, so breathless through the night. That sounds just, it's like a party song, right? So, and people are normally playing that when all of the Germans are on holiday on Mallorca. So these are not so perfect answers to this question. Another tricky question that might be asked. Okay, and Peace says, uplifting music that keeps me motivated. Yes, that is something that is wonderful to say. That's a great answer to this question. Brilliant. And you could also answer the song or the music question by separating it into different sections. So something like when I need to concentrate on a specific project, or when I'm doing creative work, or when I'm working with my colleagues, or something like that. Okay, but uplifting music is definitely always a good answer. So then another question might be, which kitchen gadget would you be? So, and here you can be funny again if you want, or you would say something like, I would be a dishwasher because then I would take a lot of stress of other people. Yeah, something like that. So always use an answer that you also explain a little bit. You could also say something like, I would be a 2000-watt microwave because I like the approach. I like to approach things with a lot of energy, something like that. Yeah. And then something else. So these are the tricky questions. Yeah. And then I talk to you about the fact how you should answer these. So it's first of all very important or great for you to know that you can always ask the recruiter to give you a moment to think about it. And this is also very helpful with regards to brain teasers. Yeah. And here with regards to the trick questions, it's important for you to answer spontaneously, to be honest, and to give a brief answer. Yeah, so you don't have to make up a whole story about the kitchen gadget that you want to be. Just a very precise and brief answer, that's fine. So, and then the second part are brain teasers. And the brain teasers are very popular, especially amongst larger companies that are organizing certain assessment centers, for example. And brain teasers are there to find out about your problem solving skills, your creativity, your comprehension, thought patterns that you have, and logical thinking. And here, the way you want to address these questions, it's like that. So analyze calmly, ask questions. So they ask you a question, you can ask questions back, then summarize the situation, verbalize the solution. So you explain the way towards your solution. That is very, very important here. And then last but not least, you justify the result. And here, with regards to brain teasers, it's more about not finding the correct answer, but to see your thought process. So me as a recruiter, I want to see, okay, what is this person thinking? How is this person approaching this question? And these questions, so just let me give you an example. Something like, how much does Manhattan weigh, for example? Yeah. And questions like these are called Fermi questions. And Fermi, because there has been a physicist called Enrico Fermi, and this physicist had the talent of being able to give a rough estimate that was kind of right. Not the correct answer, but it was a great estimate. And this is what you need to think about when answering these questions. So questions such as, how many gardens are there in Germany? So then you could ask questions again, okay, because obviously I've talked to you about the fact that Germans love gardening, and it's our most it's our biggest hobby. Basically, the most common hobby in Germany is gardening. And then you could ask, okay, if we're thinking about 30% of the people that are gardening, then we could also think about that it's always a pair of people that have one garden. So then you can divide it by 2 again, and so on. So you go on with this question and take a problem-solving approach. Another question might be something like, how many sheets of paper are copied in a day in Germany? Or something like, how many hairdressers are there in Munich? Something like that. So it's really strange questions. And when you hear these questions, you think, first of all, hey, why are these people asking me this question? They don't really want to know how many hairdressers there are in Munich, will they? But it's basically just, first of all, finding out how are you answering or reacting in a stressful situation where you don't know the answer, and how are your problem solving skills, how are your analytical skills. And there doesn't have to be a correct answer to this. Yeah. And it's basically just for them to find out, okay, is this person approaching this question systematically and analytically, or does this person just give up? And so I found out or researched a question for you guys that is it's an example that might help you. So for example, what is the angle of an hour and minute hands on a clock that is at 3:15? So it's 3:15, so it's 3:15, right? And the way how you then break it down is basically, okay, the minute hand is exactly on the 3, but the hour hand is a bit further already, because obviously it's already past 3. Yeah. Then in 15 minutes, it moved exactly a quarter further between 3 and 4. So tell me whether I've lost you already. And now you see the whole clock, it's a circle, so it's 360 degrees, right? And we have 12 digits. So 360 divided by 12 is 30 degrees. So between each of these two numbers, we have 30 degrees. So between 3 and 4, there is 30 degrees. And it's a quarter of that. So a quarter of 30 degrees is 7.5 degrees. And that's how you tackle this question, okay? So again, it's always great to ask the recruiter to get some time to breathe in and think about that. And then you let them know what you're thinking, okay? Okay, so that's a great example of that. And yeah, basically the forbidden questions that there are that so there is a common understanding of certain questions that people are not supposed to be asked. First of all, and the biggest reason is because of discrimination issues. Yeah, so for example, a woman is not supposed to be asked whether she is pregnant. And also, we are not supposed to be asked whether we have a desire of having children or anything about your religion or political orientation. It's a forbidden question. Anything about your criminal record is a forbidden question. Or anything about your financial situation. The recruiters are not supposed to ask these questions. Felix is here as well. Thank you very much for joining. Anything about diseases, they are not supposed to ask you about this. Yeah. And obviously something like partnerships, your family and relationship status. So, and here you can always think about these forbidden questions to either answer them in a funny way if they are being asked. You could also tell the recruiter, okay, I know it's a forbidden question, so I would kindly ask you not to ask this question. So, for example, about the family relationship status, so something, are you single or something like that? A funny answer would be, why are you interested? Because if you are answering that, and if you are asking this question again, then this recruiter will say, oh, okay, so this is really awkward. This is how you can solve this issue. However, for any of the other forbidden aspects, so again, pregnancy, desire for children, religion or political orientation, criminal record, financial situation, diseases and partnership or family and relationship status, all of these questions, if they are being asked during a job interview, then you can always lie. It's okay to lie in these situations, okay? Well, there are certain exceptions, and let me give you two examples. For example, sometimes, especially with regards to the question of pregnancy, if this job is advertised as a position to fill for another woman that is on maternity leave, then you are then you have to tell them that you are pregnant. Yeah, then you're not supposed to apply for this position, because obviously the people have told you before, and okay, we are searching for a person that jumps in for somebody else that has just had a baby. And so that's when they are allowed to ask the pregnancy question, and that's when you're supposed to give the right answer as well. And another thing is about the criminal record. So if you have committed a crime that is in direct relation to your job, then you have to admit that you've committed that crime. So just think about, you are a truck driver, for example, and you have exceeded the speed limit to the point that you have to turn in your driver's license for a couple of months. Then you have to admit that, right? You have to tell them, because obviously this is directly related. Or something like you are a child molester and then you are applying for a job in kindergarten or something like that. Obviously, that's not possible. You cannot work in this field, and that's when you have to be honest. However, if they're, for example, asking, you're working in an office, you are an office clerk, let's say, and then they are asking whether you have committed a crime, and you know in the back of your mind, oh, I had a speeding ticket, or I have I had to turn in my driver's license or anything like that, then you don't have to tell the truth. You can lie, and it's your right in Germany to lie here in this situation, okay? And so lies are allowed, and my advice for you with regards to the forbidden questions is staying objective, address the error that they shouldn't ask these questions, stay calm, and act consistently. Yeah, and then you can also set limits and boundaries for yourself. It's up to you to set the boundary. So you can say, I know that this is a forbidden question, so I ask you not to ask these questions. Okay? So, and if you have any more questions with regards to that, let me know. So that was all about the weird job interview questions that might be asked. So the first ones were tricky questions. The other ones were brain teasers that are very, very typical nowadays. And the third one were the forbidden questions. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I wish you a wonderful week. I'll see you again next Wednesday. Thank you, and bye-bye. Thanks for being here.